Hello and welcome to my presentation about the benefit of compliance testing for OPC-UA servers and an insight into our experience with compliance testing and also an insight into the definition of compliance test tool definition. My name is Schibli. I am based at Mettler Toledo in Switzerland. I'm marketing manager and responsible for industrial Internet of Things applications and Industry 4.0 aspects. And I'm responsible in this context with weighing in production and manufacturing. Let me first give you a brief insight into Mettler Toledo. Mettler Toledo is a manufacturer for precision instruments used in laboratories and manufacturing. We have a workforce of about 18,000 employees, an annual sales figure of close to $4 billion. We have a worldwide presence and we have about 8,000 local sales and service specialists. With this, we have one of the biggest sales force and service organizations globally for precision instrumentation. Our product range for OPC-UA is shown here. On the left-hand side, you see the ACI 400 IoT Edge Gateway. It is for upgrading already existing installed base in brownfield installations at the user. But it can also be used for providing OPC-UA connectivity for weighing devices of Mettler Toledo which are less performant and which cannot host an OPC-UA server. On the right-hand side, you see the IND360 terminal family or indicators and also transmitters. It is ideal for greenfield installations because it has an onboard OPC-UA server. So the server is incorporated and you do not need an additional software to be installed on any kind of the customer's hardware, or you don't need an edge device to host this server application. Why does Mettler Toledo want to test the servers? We believe that a communication standard needs testing. And we have decades of experience with testing communication standards. I refer here to the Profibus that has always had a test, then the Profinet communication technology, and many other communication standards. They have testing and certification processes and bodies installed. So we just think this is normal and this establishes trust at the customers and the system integrators. But a certified and tested server also helps in daily life because it facilitates conflict management in case of the system integrator complains about incorrect functionalities of the server. It can also help in disagreement with the server SDK toolkit provider. And it also helped in discussions with disagreements with client providers. It always helps to show a test report and a certificate that the server was thoroughly tested and passed the test with the compliance test tool. And finally, it also helped us internally in the discussion between the software development and the software quality control. So at the end, both sides had a test report or can have a test report in their hands that certifies the correct functionality. Some facts and information about compliance testing. First, according to the information of the testing lab we spoke to, none of the tested servers passed in the first attempt. And a test lasts at least 3 days. The price for testing is set by the OPCUA Foundation and not by the test lab itself. And the price is $950 per day for corporate OPC Foundation members and $1,900 per day for non-members and logo members. So testing, as I said, lasts at least 3 days, and it can last up to 7, 8 or more days. The duration of the test depends, of course, on the number of functionalities that have to be tested. So it depends on the number of nodes, methods, events, and alarms that the test lab has to test. Of course, it also depends on the number of interactions of loops until the server finally passes the test, because as I said, no server passed in the first attempt. The price then ends typically between $4,000 and $7,000. A certification with the test has to be repeated after 3 years at the latest and after each major software change of the server. A server can be tested just as a software if the server is independent from a particular hardware. In such a case, the test lab can install the server software on their own hardware and perform the test. But if the server is mandatory connected to a particular hardware, then both have to be sent to the test lab. So then the manufacturer of the server has to send the device with the installed software to the testing lab for testing. It's also important to know that a compliance test just tests the server. It does not test the functionality of the entire machine or of the device or the measuring itself. It just tests the functionality of the server according to the standard of OPCUA. We have currently 2 test laboratories in operation. One is in Europe and one is in China. The addresses or the contact data of these test labs can be found on the homepage of the OPC Foundation. And on this homepage, you can also register for making a test and agree and schedule a test. Definition of a test case. So test cases have to be defined to program the automatic test tool. This is usually done by joint working group consisting of manufacturers of the particular technology for which the companion specification is made. So in the case of the companion specification for weighing, which has about 150, let me call it functionality, so consisting of nodes, methods, events, and alarms. So to test these 150 functionalities, we defined 185 test cases. These are the figures for the companion specification weighing, and the work group consisted of the 12 weighing equipment manufacturers which defined the companion specification for weighing for OPCUA. Here on the spreadsheet, you can see in the left-hand side column is the test case description. In the middle column is the test requirements, and on the right-hand side you see the expected results. So with the content of this spreadsheet that is passed to the testing lab, they can then program the test tool for automatic testing. A compliance test enrollment. So first, the vendor prepares for testing. For this, he can use a test script for self-tests. This test script is available free of charge for OPC members, for OPC Foundation members, and it can be bought by non-members and logo members. So if the server manufacturer believes he has finished his server, an error-free version of his server, he goes to the homepage of the OPC Foundation and contacts the test lab in order to schedule the test. Then he has to provide the technical details. What has to be tested so that the test lab can make the plans and schedule enough time. Providing technical details means that they inform them about how many nodes, methods, events, and alarms have to be tested. In case a particular companion specification has to be tested, it depends if this specification has substandards, so-called profiles for particular sub-applications for a particular technology. In the case of the companion specification for weighing, these are 13 sub-profiles, and actually no server will provide all these 13 profiles because this makes no sense. So probably all servers will offer the profile for simple weighing, and then additionally the profile for piece counting or the profile for dynamic conveyor weighing or tank hopper weighing, but it is hardly imaginable that a server provides all 13 profiles because this makes no sense. So this information has to go to the test lab. The test lab then, when they received the equipment or the software, they start an iterative process. So they test, and as I said, no server passed from the beginning. They report the errors found to the manufacturer. The manufacturer corrects the error, returns the product to the test lab, and so on. So this loop goes on until the server is according to the standard. And then finally, the test lab issues the certificate. Let's quickly have a look here at the bottom what is actually tested. So they first test the compliance. They test according to the OPC-UA core specifications, because a server does not have necessarily comply also with a particular companion specifications, because not all technologies and not all industries have companion specifications. So the test lab can only test the OPC-UA core specification. In case of a companion specification, they test the companion specifications with the profiles if this standard has sub-profiles. In the next step, they test the interoperability of the server. This means they test it with maybe 5, 6 different clients. Vice versa, if a client is sent to the test lab, they test it with several different servers from different manufacturers. They also test the robustness. They make a stress test with the servers for 72 hours and see how that behaves, how well it recovers also from disasters. They also verify or look at the efficiency. This can, of course, only be done if the server software runs on a publicly available operating system, such as Windows or Linux. So they check the CPU load, the memory management, and the bandwidth of the data exchange possible. Finally, they check the usability. How is the user experience how ergonomic is the configuration, how comprehensible is the configuration of the server. So here now is the picture of a certificate. This is a nice document, a nice picture which the manufacturer can hang in his office or in his coffee room. But if you have a closer look at that certificate, you see it's not very precise. It just states that an OPC UA server passed the test, but there are no details about it. And so therefore it is important that you, if you want to be on the safe side, that you want to be sure that the server really complies with your applications and that the optional nodes that you want, that they really were available and that they were tested. So you have to request the test reports and the test documentation from the vendor. So this is complementary to the nice picture with the test certificate. What is our experience with testing? So first I have to say that we couldn't have our products tested yet because the companion specification for weighing is not ready yet for performing a compliance test because there are still some issues and discussion left between the work group which defined the companion specification and the OPC Foundation. But we could already gain experience with testing because we could send in our server for testing the compliance test tool. So that gave us the opportunity to have our server pre-tested, if I may say so, and we gained experience how this could be performed. And we, as well, as I said several times already, our server did not pass the very first time, so we also had this interaction with the experts from the test lab, and we learned a lot from this discussion. And also, the experts from the test lab, they helped us to formulate questions to be asked to the server SDK toolkit provider. So all in all, we made a very good experience with this compliance testing, despite the fact that we couldn't really do the official compliance test yet. Okay. Thank you for attention. Thank you for your attention, for listening to my presentation, and back to Stefan Hoppe. Thank you.